Before I begin, I'd like to briefly address news from the Manhattan Correctional Center over the weekend regarding Jeffrey Epstein. This sex trafficking case was very important to the Department of Justice and to me personally. It was important to the dedicated prosecutors in the Southern District of New York and to our FBI agents who investigated the case and were preparing it for trial. Most importantly, this case was important to the victims who had the courage to come forward and deserved the opportunity to confront the accused in the courtroom. I was appalled, and indeed the whole department was, and frankly, angry to learn of the MCC's failure to adequately secure this prisoner. We are now learning of serious irregularities at this facility that are deeply concerning and demand a thorough investigation. The FBI and the Office of Inspector General are doing just that. We will get to the bottom of what happened, and there will be accountability. But let me assure you that this case will continue on against anyone who was complicit with Epstein. Any co-conspirators should not rest easy. The victims deserve justice, and they will get it.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, the FBI has raided Jeffrey Epstein's island. Now, a lot of people are very upset about this, saying, why haven't we done it up till this point? Well, they waited until after he died, and the question really is the FBI raid to gather evidence or plant what was already gathered to use as newly sourced material for upcoming arrests? That will be up for you guys to decide. As Q would say, how do you legally inject? Well, that might be it. So you guys are going to want to stick around and check this out. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. You guys know the drill. I always say thank you to everybody who's hit that subscribe button. If you haven't, come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications so you get notified when these videos get posted. Today, we are checking in on the Q board first. Obviously, we haven't had anything new since 8chan was taken down. Now, 8chan is going to be coming back up soon. The owner of the website is meeting with Homeland Security, and they say as soon as they're done with that meeting, we will have 8chan back up and running, which means we have the possibility of further Q posts. So you guys are going to want to stick around to see that. But with that being said, obviously 3570 is the latest Q post. That's the one we have, and we're going to get into a whole bunch of stories today, including the fact that the FBI conducted a massive raid with other federal agencies which were there to help conduct a massive search and raid of the compound itself. And a lot of people are really upset, saying, why didn't this happen earlier? But a lot of the Anons are kicking around some theories that are very interesting about what could be happening during this raid. And we're going to talk about a bunch of that and a bunch of other news stories. But before we do that, as always, I have to ask you guys, please share these videos, watch them, come back here, watch them, share them, hit the share button at the bottom of this video. And if you scratch your head going, what is QAnon the Great Awakening? Watch this video. It'll give you all the information you need to know, and you can share it with friends and family if they want to figure out what we're talking about here. But most importantly, you guys know the drill. It's the algorithmic suppression and discrimination that's going on with YouTube is just beyond me. And everything that's happening there is out of our control. But what is in our control is how we can go around them. And the best way I think we can do it is to actually post these videos and share them on our own social media, because that's how we get around the mainstream narrative and the stranglehold that these 6 major media corporations have over the amount of information that's put to the American people. Don't forget, they control 90% of the flow of information, and we are at that 10%, and we have to continue to push to defeat their narrative. With that being said, let's take a look at a few stories before we get into the Epstein FBI raid and all the theories that the Anons are kicking around about that. We're going to get into that stuff in a minute, but first, I want to start here. The Overstock CEO, Patrick Byrne, has fired off a warning shot to the deep state, claiming that Bill Barr is about to break the biggest scandal in American history. Well, it sounds like somebody's been following Q, And obviously, this individual, the Overstock CEO, knows what is coming, as we all do here. And that really is that what you're seeing happening in real time with Jeffrey Epstein and the massive FBI raid on his island. I mean, there's so much happening as we speak right now that it becomes important to take this all into context with each other. Now, if Bill Barr is going to be actually bringing these indictments forward at some point and uncovering this big scandal, as is proclaimed here by Patrick Byrne, as we've been proclaiming here on this channel and through what QAnon has been predicting for so long, we have to be prepared for it. Every piece has to fit in its place. And I think that's why you're seeing this precision planning unfolding day after day after day, where the people who are in control, the patriots who are now in control, are causing panic. You know, if you saw that, good for you. If you didn't, it was a little acronym. But this is truly the next stage in the plan. We are going to start bringing these people to account, arresting them, indicting them, and imagine what this FBI raid means for the whole, with regard to what kind of evidence could be taken from that island. And we're going to talk about that in a bit. But here's another interesting story I thought we should really take a very close look at. Russia has now admitted that a nuclear reactor blew up during a missile test 250 miles from Moscow. Well, this is very fascinating. Obviously, we are in a very precarious position with Moscow and Russia, and this is just another step, I think, toward what may be or another indication of what may be happening behind the scenes, I should say. Because if you think about it, since President Trump has come into office, he's taken a hardline stance with Russia as far as sanctions and no sanctions relief and policy and just the whole 9 yards, really. Foreign policy, you name it. And Russia is obviously not happy with this. We're having reports of many different unverified but alleged altercations between different factions outside of the purview of the public. But let's just say that this may be a little bit more than a nuclear reactor that just happened to blow up. So here's another story I want to follow up on that we talked about earlier here on the channel a little while ago, a couple of weeks ago maybe. It was this person who had posted over here on the vote board saying that they were a reporter and that they had been asked to dig into the whole Q thing, and that they basically were coming to terms to realizing that it wasn't that crazy and that the whole Q movement may be very, very real. But they were told by their editors to tear apart Q followers and see what kind of wonky stuff they're into. Now, I've been basically attacked by the mainstream media as well. So I understand what this person's saying very clearly, that they did come after us. It was around July 24th or 5th. They went hard at Q. They wrote the fake news stories. They started coming after us as far as writing hit pieces, people who were covering this. Then they started releasing and leaking documents from the FBI, the Phoenix field office, saying that we're violent extremists, which is just the furthest thing from the truth. But it's just a lie. Misrepresentation of the document itself. It was written, the report was taking pieces of the document completely out of context. That was Yahoo News, by the way, the same fake news or agency that broke the whole Steele dossier, Russia, President Trump in hotels with people and disgusting things happening. This is the lying fake news leftists. And you know what? They're not even leftists at this point. They're just the lying fake news. They are just their own entity unto themselves, right? Because they lie every single day. But this person's coming over here to the board and posting anonymously that they were preparing stories ahead of what was to come. And this has really just continued to evolve into something more and more. But I just want to follow up with the follow-up that apparently is coming from the same person. So we're going to have to, it's an anonymous board, of course. It's hard to really keep track of all this stuff, but sometimes people are coming here and dropping real information, and we have to look at it very, very suspiciously. First of all, this is the update, I guess, from this person who originally posted the post we just read about what's going on at their news organization. They're saying deep fakes are the big deal right now. Also, they started serving kombucha in the house cafeteria, which is weird. I don't even know what to make of that. Then they mentioned this CNN article here, which is actually really fascinating. It's the Democratic Party is faking its own or creating its own deep fakes in order to highlight the concerns for 2020. So this, to me, you can read this article. It's ridiculous how obvious it is that they are trying to get ahead of what they know exists, which is video proof that they were committing some really evil, sick, disgusting crimes. And, you know, they've been running this story nonstop for the last, I don't even know how many months. And it all has been kind of co-aligning perfectly with what's coming out with Jeffrey Epstein. And we know that the Virginia Roberts, one of the women who was raped allegedly by these powerful men and was basically sex trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein, says in court documents that everything that they did was recorded, that Jeffrey Epstein had hidden cameras everywhere, even in the bathrooms, and that every single thing was recorded. Now, remember, look at Ghislaine Maxwell. We just did a video on her today, and her connections back to all of these very powerful people, how she was working with Jeffrey Epstein. And a lot of people pointed out that she basically has the bio of a James Bond femme fatale. She's got a submarine license and connections to wealthy, politicians and corporate figures and celebrities. So it really is disconcerting right now that they continue to push this story in the fake news about deep fakes. And because what they're going to say is, when evidence does eventually surface of somebody doing something on camera, right, they're laying the groundwork for the spin that they're going to put on it, that it was a deep fake and that it wasn't real. So that's interesting. The guy goes on here, whoever this person is, says, the House members on the correct side of the aisle are very worried about being dubbed as racist, especially with Will Hurd stepping down. You want to talk about panic in D.C.? That is an understatement right now. Any member with an African-American population of more than 30% is very concerned right now, and has us researching things like crazy to fight this, and we're all looking for black-friendly legislation that can immediately get behind, or that they can immediately get behind. It says, it looks like the racist name-calling is working because it's been an almost complete shutdown of progress between the Epstein panic and the totally have a black friend stuff happening here. The packets we mailed out remain a total mystery to me. I believe they're a lead into some sort of D-class or something along those lines, because once we mailed them out to secure boxes, they were hand-delivered and have gone totally dark since then on the whole issue. Now, I'm not sure what this is referring to, other than previously in the last post, they talked about how they were asked to put together all of these stories about QAnon, and how they were asked to dig into the people who are covering this so they could release it all at once, right? So that might be the packets I think they're referring to, and they've sent them all out to the other media organizations who are going to disseminate that, right? This is another thing, but that's just a guess. Another thing that is happening right now is discussing Seth Rich very openly. A report went around that stated that U.S. intelligence tracked the transfer of a 1 gigabyte file to Assange from an untracked source. There were some graphics with the transfer protocol and stuff like that with the tracked emails. Apparently, this is clipped from some bigger report that is about to drop later this month, but the 1 gigabyte file was transferred on July 14, 2016 to Assange. He immediately confirmed that he got the email. 8 days later, he published a DNC leaks. Two major takeaways I have from this, and these are what people are talking a lot about. Intelligence can track very large files transferring very easily, or can track large files transferring very easily. Apparently, they are pinged when large files transfer to locations they're keeping an eye on, like Casa de Assange. 2. Seth Rich was murdered on July 10, 2016, 4 days before Assange got the DNC leaks. Those are both pretty big things that people haven't been talking about, all in relation to Seth Rich, and I found it pretty shocking. Anyone else have any thoughts? So this is the story right here. I don't know. You can take it with a grain of salt. This seems to be an insider who's trying to say that these are the things that they're talking about right now. It wasn't really giving us anything that we don't know already. But one question I have that I take away from all of this that I thought was an interesting thought is talking here about the fact that Julian Assange received these data files 4 days after Seth Rich was murdered. So did Seth Rich take this information, give it to somebody to hold on to as a sort of dead man switch, and say, if anything happens to me, I want you to give this information to Julian Assange? Well, I think that's exactly what actually happened here. But that's still speculative, and you've heard right here what this is all talking about. So I'm just going to leave that for you. And then here's one more one I want to talk about before we get into the whole Epstein thing. This one I thought was very fascinating because this person hits the nail on the head with exactly my first initial thought about the whole Epstein and the theories that were circulating about how it was not him and that he was, that it was some sort of, he went into witness protection and they used some sort of body double and the whole 9 yards, the whole idea that he was either taken to Gitmo or put on a spaceship. I don't know, right? Aliens came, who knows, right? But one thing I thought was very fascinating is the point that they're making right here when they're talking about it. They said, when do they ever not cover up a body? This is the first thing I thought when I saw that picture of Jeffrey Epstein being wheeled out of the prison. I thought to myself, if he's dead, every time I've ever seen, I mean, and granted, it's not very often, right? But I've never ever on the news or anywhere else seen a body being wheeled out of a place that had of a deceased person that wasn't covered up in some way, whether it's in a body bag or it's with a blanket or just a sheet, whatever. I've never seen that. And it is very suspicious. This is what the person says here. How many faces of dead people have you seen wheeled around on a gurney? It does not happen. It doesn't matter if the murder victim or your 98-year-old grandfather or grandmother who finally passed in her house, they always cover up bodies, including faces, before moving them, and they are never left exposed. No less where a camera can snap a convenient picture. And that's what I thought was very interesting. So they leave it uncovered, and then you just happen to get this very, very convenient, perfect picture of his face as he's being wheeled out. Yeah, I wasn't sure about that. And this person goes on to say they wanted us to see that photo. Only reason it was taken, or more likely leaked, as we know, the Hollywood tech and makeup, they can make a face look like anyone very easily. Several anons point out that the nose and these little variations. It says either way, I'm convinced that photo was not Epstein and most likely a fake. This is this person's words, not mine. But it says potential motive. The obvious is that Epstein has a dead man's switch in place, which is what we were just talking about. In his line of work, blackmail, and especially if he was working with CIA, Mossad, or others, he almost certainly had a backup plan. How many trusts does he have with outrageous amounts of money that no one can say where it came from? Could he own another island or in a more remote location that no one knows about? How many planes did he own? How do we know about all of them? How do we know every trust? What did he have offshore? Bottom line, he very likely had a backup contingency plan for something like this. They do not show faces of dead people being rolled around. They do not move bodies before covering them, especially in this scenario. And at that kind of facility, any coroner or police officer will likely pick that up. No way that photo was Epstein. So again, this is this person's opinion, but it's a fascinating take on it, wouldn't you say? After I saw that original Epstein photo, this was the exact same thing I originally thought. I was like, what world do we live in where they wheel somebody out without putting a blanket or having them in a body bag for reporters to take pictures of? I mean, like this person says, they wanted us to see that photo, I think. So I'll leave that up to you guys, but that's just what I'm looking at here. Now, this is the big story. A dozen FBI agents raid Jeffrey Epstein's pedophile island, quote unquote, according to the Daily Mail, pulling up to his Caribbean getaway in speedboats and roaming around the grounds in golf carts 2 days after the pervert billionaire's suicide. So again, other reports are saying that not only are they searching the island, but apparently they have divers in scuba gear searching the waters surrounding. And this was something I want to bring back to light. We've talked about this before, but this was some anon who put this up here. I think it's pretty much spot on, close to what's happening here. Saying, has anyone noticed not only are the anons digging into Epstein's sex crimes and fishy suicide, but also the Trump-hating leftists? Epstein's former association with Trump has the normies on the left desperately digging, trying to find dirt against Trump. In other words, Epstein is the bridge, the common ground between left and right, which will lead everyone towards the unifying truth. Hence, Epstein is the keystone, which when removed will bring down the entire establishment. So this is something we've been talking about for a long time. Q's asked us, what is the keystone? What is the keystone? What is the bridge? Who is the bridge? We've had all of these questions over and over again, and they've all led to this moment, I think, where we're at now, where Epstein is that bridge, that commonality that's not only bringing together the left and the right, as is pointed out here, in this quest for truth and justice and equality of law, and people being brought to justice who are involved in sick, disgusting, evil, criminal things, but it's also the keystone, as it says here, that will bring down everything, because Epstein's the one who's connected to everyone. And who knows what kind of operation was being ran by him. But I'll tell you what, it seems quite obvious that there was something very nefarious going on, and it very likely was connected back to clandestine intelligence agencies. That was why I brought this up and wanted to show it to you. Another story that I think is going to be coming up hopefully soon is this one we talked about in the last video, but I want to just bring it up again. The Anons are pointing this out. There is a dig going on behind the scenes into how Jeffrey Epstein's trust happened to win the Powerball lottery in Oklahoma in 2008, and how this possibly could be connected back to people who were involved in some of the crimes being alleged to have been committed, including people like Bill Richardson, the former governor of New Mexico. So, you know, that story is still developing as we continue down this road. Here's one that's interesting. Sources are coming out now and saying that Epstein's lawyers made the request to take him off suicide watch. This is Brian Cates at Drawn Strike reporting here, saying, sources telling the Wall Street Journal that Epstein's own lawyers requested he be taken off suicide watch at the end of July. It's claimed that the request was granted, and so Epstein had been off suicide watch for 10 days when he was found Saturday morning dead at his cell. And other reports are saying that his cellmate was removed from his cell, I guess, the day before his alleged suicide. So this just continues to get stranger and stranger and stranger, and this is starting to look more and more coordinated as some sort of coordinated extraction. But, you know, that's pretty much all we have so far. A few other things, you know, I've been digging a little bit on my own into this Jeffrey Epstein VI Foundation, which has connections back to Harvard. I've tried to verify it. It seems like this is a real organization that actually existed, where he was working with this Henry Rozovsky, who was the former dean, or dean emeritus, or emeritus, that's what that means, former dean of the Faculty of Arts and Sciences of Harvard University. And there's so many connections between Harvard and Epstein that it's starting to look very, very suspicious. This guy, this Henry Rozovsky, had an entire building donated to a Harvard University in his name by Jeffrey Epstein. So that's something we should be looking deeper into, and I'm trying to find more about it. But you can look here that here is the article where it talks about that, the simple fact here that in 1990, Epstein donated money to construct a new campus building named for his old friend, Henry Rozovsky, a former dean of the university's Faculty of Arts and Sciences. But then also, in 2003, he pledged $30 million toward the creation of the university's program of evolutionary dynamics. There's a lot of very suspicious connections here between that organization and the college, I should say, and Jeffrey Epstein that we need to continue to dig deeper into. But with that being said, that's pretty much where I'm going to leave off here. A few more things before we go. Greatest way you can help the channel, come here, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you watch these videos, share them on your social media, and leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below. I want to hear what you guys have to say about all the stuff that we've covered here on this episode of Just Informed Talk. Another great way to support the channel is to come over here to Brave. There's a link in the description for brave.com where you can download the Brave browser, put it on your computer. It's basically Google, Chrome, Windows Internet Explorer, whatever you use normally. It is an internet browser, but it's a better internet browser, and I'll tell you why. I really like it simply because it blocks ads and it makes using the internet that much more smooth and easy. And the benefit to it all really is that if you use the link in the description to download it and install it, every time you visit my YouTube channel, Brave will make a contribution to my channel. And when you do the download, it makes a contribution on my behalf as well, or on your behalf toward my channel. So thank you so much for your support. You just need to download it and try it out. Let me know what you think. I mean, download it, install it, give it a try. It's basically Google Chrome, but better, blocking all the ads. And I really encourage everyone to go check that out. But another way you can come find me is on Twitter at JUSTINFORMED. It's a cool way where we can connect. It's just a platform where I can have another conversation with you guys. And don't forget to check out JUSTINFORMEDNEWS.com, the official website for Just Informed Talk, where you get links to all the Q stuff, different news articles, breaking news, and of course, the latest videos from the channel here. That's JUSTINFORMEDNEWS.com. A couple other ways you can help out are both financial. Patreon is a great way you can help out. It's a crowdfunding website, and as I've told you guys before, I'm not complaining. It's just the reality of the situation. YouTube has decided behind the scenes to secretly basically demonetize everything 100%. So now I depend on you guys 100% and any outside advertisers I can find. So if you're interested in supporting the channel, please come here to Just Informed Talk on Patreon. And you can sign up here. It's a monthly donation. You set it and forget it. You know you're creating content on this channel and helping to do that. So thank you so much. Link will be in the description. I also have a GoFundMe set up if you want to make a one-time or anonymous donation. So you should go check those out if you want to help out and contribute. I thank you so much for your help. And before we go, we do a segment at the end of each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. And for today's segment, I want to share this piece of scripture. It's out of Psalm 17, and it's verse 10 through 15. And I want to share these words with you, which really speaks to what we're going through as a whole with this movement and against this evil that exists in this world. It says, "They have become hardened. Their mouths speak arrogantly. They advance against me. Now they surround me. They are determined to throw me to the ground. They are like a lion eager to tear, like a young lion lurking in ambush. Rise up, Lord. Confront him. Bring him down. With your sword, save me from the wicked. With your hand, Lord, save me from men of the world whose portion is in this life. You fill their bellies with what you have in store. Their sons are satisfied and they leave their surplus to their children. But I will see your face in righteousness. When I awake, I will be satisfied with your presence." Now, what does that mean? Well, it means God is going to be there for us in these times of adversity, and especially when we have to stand up against such a great evil. And it may take some personal sacrifice, and it may take going through adversity or taking ridicule. But the reality is, standing up for what's right is never wrong. And living a righteous life and rebuking evil and calling it out for what it is exactly what God calls us to do. And that's what I'm calling you to do, is to stand against this evil, rebuke it, call it out for what it is, and help in the effort to bring these people to justice legally and lawfully. But this is what we're doing, and we can do it the best with prayer, with strong faith in God, with living a righteous life, with doing unto others as we'd want unto ourselves, by spreading goodness and positivity and helping people come closer to God and realize that they have eternal salvation through our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Explaining to them that Christ died on the cross for their sins so that they may live in heaven forever, and that the Holy Spirit lives in us and every day gives us the power to do things we may not otherwise ever be able to do. So that's my message, and I hope you guys share that with your family and friends and loved ones, and remind them that God is above watching over us, and that all we have to do is live a righteous life. And if you haven't, open that channel up, say a prayer, reach out to God, and you'd be amazed at the things that God can do. Things that your heart and your mind could never imagine is what God has in store for you. So that's my message to you, and I hope you guys take that and share it with one another. But that's where I'm going to leave it. Thanks for watching. A few more things. Come here, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications. That helps. Also, hit it, bop it, tap it, slap it, whatever. Hit the like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. But that's going to be it for me. Thanks for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.